Whether we use in the product. Roll call with the notice that Brian will be here, but he's going to depart.
You bet. Jerry,
Here.
John, Justin,
Here.
Lexi, and I'll make it up for Brian.
Thank you. I might want to put it together.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Justin, aye.
But here. Motion carries. Open it up for citizen comment at this time. Do we have anyone online at this point?
We do not, no.
Oh, citizen comment at this time. We go on to the motion to approve the consent agenda with all the questions.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Lexi, aye.
Justin, aye.
Motion carries. Committee reports, HR committee. Let's see, John.
Yeah, so let's see.
Yeah, you were not at the bottom.
We just talked about the travel expenses. We kind of talked a little bit about the longevity, kind of revamping some of that stuff.
I do want to add that the policy that we were looking at, I found one that was passed by council back in 2019 that is much more thorough, and I sent it out to HR. I would advise that we take a look at that and adopt it, or just do a revision to it.
Any questions for HR? Any other items under development? We will be on to administration. Resolution approving the agreement between the city of Jackson and the Board of District. Provide the city of Jackson county water services at Jackson Highway Bridge, located at Northeast Iowa Community College.
I put some notes out there. This is a new lease agreement that starts January 1 of next year and goes through 12/31/26. I looked at last year's or the older lease agreement, and it's actually a little bit less, which is fantastic.
Is this the retreat that we, that standard for quality? Second.
Brian, aye.
Thanks, yeah.
Justin, aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to NSA then to 8/13/19 agreement to approve couple survey and site engineering design for the restroom and shelter at Kelly Oaks Park.
And Justin and Brian were at the meeting, so if they have anything to do that.
Well, we have a few neighbors there that are,
Oh, no, we're not talking about that. It was,
oh,
This item,
yeah.
any questions? You have anything to-
We're looking to approve MSA's amendments to August 13th and 19th agreement to approve the local survey.
I'll second.
Brian, aye.
let's yeah.
Justin, aye.
The resolution approving entering into a professional services agreement with Martin Gardner Architecture for Kelly Oaks Shelter.
And we're very fortunate to have Derek from NGA here tonight. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer them.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
Are we still using the park
shelter kind of as a baseline?
So that's what, Jake from MSA has sent me is, indicated that was kind of a precedent of a building that has kind of a similar scope. And kind of feel, or that could be used as kind of the basis of design, or at least kind of the beginning of talking about it. The way that our proposal works for our phase one, which is what we're having today. Phase two would be down the road if you want to continue through construction documents, and I can get to all that in a bit. But the idea would be to start fresh, and kind of just take the ideas from that part of the building that you would like and kind of try to adapt that into your vision for the program of the building. Also, if anybody would like, I brought copies of our proposal, if you'd like to read through that, and a couple of copies of some of our related work recreation type buildings.
And you talked specifically about 2 or 3 meetings, you know, one for input and then you bring back a conceptual and then there's feedback on that.
Yes, so the first meeting would be a programming meeting. So programming just be identify the problem, get a list of the things that we want to include in the building. As far as, you know, types of restrooms, storage, you know, gathering facilities, that kind of thing. And then also any kind of general details. Do you want overhead doors? How do you generally want the structure to function? And when I take that information, then I go back to the office and then come up with, we use a tool called the size bundler. So pretty much we just take an assumption of size based on how many people are going to be in there. And then we print out chips, what we call chips, which is just literally squares that represent a square footage of each space. We bring it back and we do kind of a beginning of a schematic design meeting. We do an activity all together called chipping. But pretty much it's you designing your floor plan. You get to move the chips around and just kind of, it's an activity to try to gain as much you know, clarity and get as much thought out of you as the client that you or your vision for the project into a floor plan. And then take that back and create a schematic design, schematic of the floor plan, which I would then come back for our final schematic design meeting, which would then be approval and any final tweaks from you all. So it'd be 3 meetings in total. By the end of it, the final deliverable for the process would be the schematic level floor plans as well as elevation drawings. And 3D renderings and that kind of thing are not a part of this scope of services as is a phase one. If there's, you know, funding drives or things that would require a bit more marketing material, we could certainly do that as an additional service or as a separate contract. I talked about phase one versus phase two because it would be a 2-phase project if you brought it to completion if you wanted to go with us as the architect. So at the end of phase one, you assess the design as we presented it and worked on it together. And then if you'd like to enter into phase two, that covers design development, where we get a little bit more specific about exact types of, you know, walls, materials, that building systems, that kind of thing. Then that would lead into construction documents, which of course are just, you know, drawings that we would submit out to public contractors, and then construction administration, where we oversee our portion of the construction effort. So that all would be the rest of the services that would be required for through construction, and that again will be a phase two contract. We like to do it in 2 phases because one, it's a little bit more difficult to assess the entire fee that would be required for us to perform our work before we get to know a bit more about the building itself. Also, it's a significantly less or smaller investment up front from you. And so if you get kind of the opportunity to say, yes, we'd like this, we want to move forward. Say there's either funding or scheduling or just general desire to step back from the project, there's no pressure to move forward and take it all the way through construction. So it kind of gives a little bit more flexibility and kind of maximizes transparency as well. We like to do that. But I will say to look toward the future into phase two contract, a general ballpark of where we see phase two contracts, it becomes about a 6 to 12% of projected cost of construction. So as part of schematic design, we'll do kind of a very basic, you know, cost per square foot analysis of what the projected cost would be, just so you kind of have an idea. And then construction documents, through all that, we get a much higher level of cost estimating. I believe MSA might be in charge of cost estimating. I can talk with Jake about that, but the finer details of that we can work out in our scope of services for phase two. So that's kind of the general idea. We can go as quickly or as slowly as you'd like. If we needed to move fast, we could do it. I'd probably have to go crunch some numbers and get you the final contract if you wanted to move forward, but a couple of months, we could do it really quick. If it's longer, we can go as long as we like. The only thing that we do like to say too is that you say we'd like to draw this out, or not sure what you want to go out to continue into construction documents and to go into construction. But we just say the longer the time goes, we just think of, increased cost of material, construction, that kind of thing, but that's really it. So we can move it at really whatever pace we like.
So this first phase, maybe you guys is, when you start talking about having meetings with us, is that the park board or is that us?
I think it's the park board, probably pieces, yeah. It is an interesting question though, because at what phase of the project do we get, citizen input on a schematic or something like that? I mean, there's probably somewhere along the line, we should show people what we're thinking and get some feedback before we execute a further development project. But I don't think that's really sorted out how to do that. But I'd be in support of something. I have something to look at before we do that.
Drive up energy and excitement. Fund-
Yeah,
fundraising
make
and
it
whatnot.
real.
Model of another park shelter, park restroom that I'm doing right now, that just is up a bit over in Belle Plaine, is we worked with their park board and they were kind of our direct communication that the head of park over there. And so she would take that and then kind of disseminate the updates as the process is going along to the park board for kind of just continual feedback. And then the milestone meetings of the chip game we do with the park board. And to me, really, it's kind of final approval at the end of schematic design could be to the city council. Obviously, you have to give your approval for it, but we can, communicate continuously. And then if there are critical dates that you would like to have a community input, we can absolutely work around those for scheduling. Anybody like copies of the proposal?
I'll just make one additional commenting, since some of the citizen comment when we had this last discussion last week at the Parks Committee was just about overall safety in the park. I think it's good to have Mike's eyes on, the programming plan too, just so we're thinking about safety in addition. Not that the rest of the committee won't, but it was probably a pretty big concern.
Absolutely. And part of one of the activities in our initial programming meeting is, so we go through a couple of initial tools. One is user personas. So the user personas are the people that directly use sites. So we talk about citizens, our sports team's going to be playing on this, are there special events? So who's going to be directly using the site all throughout the year? And then there would be another tool called stakeholder tool. And so stakeholders we identify as people that have, or people or entities that have a vested interest in the project that don't necessarily act as direct users. So that could be, police, fire, city staff, taxpayers as a whole, again, just kind of general community input. So we use those to identify people that we would like to engage in the process as well, whether that be just making sure we disseminate drawings or invite them to meetings explicitly to talk about things.
I guess I have another question, I guess one for the park board here. When you guys were obviously starting to expand that park presence, with this, have you had any discussions as far as what the structure of the structure of the staff that are going to be responsible for maintaining, kind of hierarchy?
I don't think you guys got that far at this point. I know there was some early on discussion we had, whether that's going to be two people or we're going to hire staff through Stacy as the board director. But no, that discussion I don't think about.
So I guess we'll give it on the radar to make sure we're not. Yeah, being forward.
It'll definitely be something that we'll talk about during the budgeting process.
What is the cost of that?
Again, it depends on what the structure kind of looks to be like by the end of schematic design, but generally our basic contracts run between 6 and 12% of projected cost of construction.
Are we really the one?
Right around less than 100 and then there's one on this.
What did you say the number was?
Was like 130, 140.
In 2019.
No, you said updated number. Oh. Yeah. Then. We can say that. February, March.
Go back, let's say.
And by the way, the range of that tends to run based on complexity of the project, not as much like the size of it. So if there's a lot of particular details, there's a certain aesthetic. Materials that really need to be more identified. There's additional meetings for input that would be required down the road. That's kind of where it creeps to that side. But if it's a pretty straightforward structure, it tends to be on total.
Any other questions? Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to the resolution approving the professional service agreement. Architect.
I'll second it.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Bill, and
Motion carried.
Yeah, so I would follow up with our actual contract, because we could have brought one, but just we like to talk about scope of services. I will have the contract written up and just submitted for your approval, which will be all DocuSign, so we can have that for you, within the effort by the end.
Are we sending that to DocuSign?
That's another good question. I mean, it can be whoever really is the signatory.
If council wants to give me authority to sign off on it, since it's already been approved, I can go ahead, it'll simplify the process.
Okay.
Just so that we have a report. All right. I don't.
And then I've got your card, so I'll make sure that I send it.
Okay, sounds good.
I saw you, that's so.
Yeah.
You have a.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so.
Why don't you do it? Okay.
This is about 7,500.
Next, we've got,
Thanks, Kevin.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Resolution approving resolution approving the contract underneath the bond between the city and the voluntary transfer study. Another area after the resolution in CASA, approving circuit transportation program funds on three. Yes. 2025.
Well, our portion will be done in FY25, so I think after June. They're gonna put the drawings together, do the letting, and start their portion of it in spring. So we're just gonna kind of follow them. So we may have it done by Christmas of next year. It's too soon. I know, it's too soon, right?
Ouch.
Says nothing to do with.
But this is awesome. I mean, we get 200,000 from DMAX, so we come up with that match.
It's a great leverage to the city's resources. We want this, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract agreement by between the Paul and area transportation study.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
That's good.
Bill, and I.
Motion carried. Next up, resolution approving K application number 4 submitted by BK for the community center city hall improvement project.
And Jacob is not here tonight, and he has offered Ryan to be the spokesperson. So if you have any questions, let me know.
I mean, I guess, yeah, the report, I was looking through it, looks like it's general conditions, excavation, concrete for the building, carpentry. Aluminum soft bed, metal stuff in the building, flooring, paint. Fire sprinklers, equipment, materials, subcontractors, labor. So the whole, $236,060.97, that's about 70%. Did you see the drill?
Yeah. Did you do those?
No.
Maybe you talk to the guy that has.
Well, yeah, I did know.
Yeah,
Yeah, he'll come up like, I'm gonna try to get him to come up here like once a month, so we can do like updates like that. And we'll probably get one in the spring when you're asking for a final one.
For both projects.
Yeah. I think Steve wants Melissa to come up. Wants a photographer to come up, engineer.
Brian, I.
Once again.
Justin, I.
Resolution approving the application number one, made by DOT, with Gapple Street and Ridge Road terminal project, and Ryan.
Yeah, I can speak on this one, actually. So I actually did it. Yeah, we have number one for, this is basically for the month of August. It's a little storm sewer, the 60-inch storm sewer, they got in right before September 1st, and then the big chunk of it is they wanted to get paid for storing materials, all the big nails and pipe that you saw delivered. $53,778 worth. So that's the good chunk of it. The rest is just some of the odds and ends, just neighboring and stuff that they put in, but total. This one is $99,381.69. So I don't know how you guys, if you guys know about store materials, but basically we pay them based on some invoices they sent in. And then we go and we pay for the item, and then that amount that we already paid just goes away. It disappears from when we pay for the actual item when it's installed.
You got pictures there.
Yeah, I have invoices if you want to look at them, they're spectacular. They're really, you know, really interesting. It's all on the ground now.
Oh, it is.
It's pretty much all in already.
It's stored in the ground.
Yeah, it's already.
Perfect.
I've been thinking that we are not digging it back up, and we are not digging it back up.
I'll make a motion to, application one. Yes, someone budget.
I'll second the motion. Brian, I.
Once again.
Change order number one.
So. This is the one fee, first couple items that we changed is, we talked with Dean, we had fabric on our own pipe. We got rid of that, so we got some credit back for that, it's not a lot of money, but it's money. Basically, it's $1 per foot that we're gonna get back, because they're not gonna put fabric around the joints, there's gaskets around all the joints. So having fabric in the gaskets is kind of redundant. One of the increases was the pipe needed to be lower because the existing pipe coming was higher or lower than we thought. So they increased that by $41 per foot, which is for a total of, I think it's like 370 a foot or something like that, which is below the DOT weighted average. It's still below what the DOT would pay for it, so it's reasonable. With the pipe being deeper, the structures had to get taller, and they're large structures. So they need an increase $5,000 per structure to build it up about 3 feet higher. And we installed a 54-inch pipe, the connection, instead of going with 60 that we had going out to the existing one. Which was a wash because you're gonna do a concrete collar, and we got rid of the collar, so I'm going to basically wash it and put that little pipe in. So total increase is $2,000 or $20,454.
I'm not tracking with you, Ryan. What do you mean washed? I mean, we're-
So on number 7, it was $41.70 per foot for 10 feet. For a total of $417 for number 7. And then the deduct below that for the concrete collar was $470. So it basically zeroed out.
I'm more focused on number 6. Obviously, that's a big number.
Right.
Is that something that we should have reasonably caught during design? I mean, how do we miss that we're off by 3 or 4 feet with the pipe that's coming across?
It was based on where it was coming from the street and there was an elbow, and we didn't really have a manhole there to take a depth and know where it was. I was keeping it as high as I could so that it wouldn't fill with water when the pond fills up. But Luckily, it was lower than and it worked out and we could fit it in, otherwise, if it was the other way around, it probably wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't work.
Do you know what kind of a percent change to the? I mean, obviously, we'll have a contingency in the project, how much of our contingency are we eating up with this thing?
So the total contract is 1.3 million. So this is like 0.2%. If my math is right. 2%. Or less than 2%. $1,000 a million. Like math today.
Do you foresee any other things infrastructure related before we actually get to the street? That's gonna be a surprise.
I see
Engineering.
Utilities being in the way and, the contractor saying them out of the way and we're staying for the utilities to move. Yeah, like they're all in the plans, they're there, you gotta work around them. I see that being with the trucks is if something utility gets in the way and they don't respond fast enough and how they.
More in timeliness. of
Yeah.
Delivery.
Yeah.
Cost.
Otherwise, cost wise, I don't see anything else.
Okay, we're through the.
Yeah, I think that's through the hiccups, I mean, the road, yeah. We could dig up the road and find a watery hole that could require maybe some extra rehab or something, but that's. We didn't know that until we dig it up.
This would be the biggest too, right?
Yeah.
We get the one number.
Right.
And that's true with any project.
Yeah. Well, the 30,000 only takes up, 2.5% of the contingency. I realize we're getting money back.
Yeah, it's like 1.5, it's like 1.5% of how much.
What do we have about 10% contingency on the whole project?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple items in there that we have like for. I don't like to give them up, but, we have $8,000 in there for some replacement of unsuitable backfill, which we probably won't use. Cause it sounds like they're gonna use the backfill that's there. But there might be some things that we end up not using as much, hopefully, optimistically.
Like motion to, change it. Let's see, yes, we first know.
Right, I.
Lexi, I.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. You. Darcy, did anybody join us tonight?
Got nobody.
I don't think I'll take some time out of the, motion to adjourn. Take a motion to adjourn. Second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I. Scott. You are adjourned.